This is the Live to Inspire podcast with me, your host, Mo Eunice. Welcome to the Live to Inspire podcast with me, your host, Mo Eunice. Today, I am honoured to have such an amazing, I'll say celebrity, but when I speak to her, she's like the most down-to-earth person I'd ever meet, and that's reality TV star Vicky Pattison. How are you?
Oh, Mo, thank you so much for having us, babe. What a dream. I'm just admiring your setup. Like, it is so fancy over there. Like, I'm just in my kitchen, bent over on the island like a croissant, but you are looking great over there.
Yeah, like it was always a dream for me to have a podcast show and stuff. So I had to make it, I had to do it as good as possible. And I didn't. But as long as the podcast is interesting, who cares where it's at, right?
I couldn't have said it better myself, but I am jealous of your setup. I'm not gonna lie. Very fancy.
Thanks very much. But before we get into the main part of the show, and we speak about life for you before fame, what you did, and I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, where a lot of people like myself had started to know you from. And, you're all over the TV now, aren't you? There's so many things you do. But before we get into that, I have to ask my opening question. And the question is, what is the biggest challenge, you have in life right now?
Oh, the biggest challenge I've got in life right now? Oh my. This is going to sound really vapid, right? But it's just at the forefront of my mind. Obviously, anyone who follows me knows I've just become a doggy mum. And I've wanted a dog my whole life, more like since I was a kid. And we weren't a dog house, we were always like a cat house. And cats are fab, like nothing against them, but they're super independent, very like, oh no thank you, they think they're the boss, don't they? Whereas dogs, they've got this whole lovely, loyal, really just like they just love you so much. So I've always wanted one. Anyway, I've went and bit the bullet, adopted one through Dogs Trust. Mr. Milo is here as we speak, and he's amazing. But to anybody out there entertaining the idea of adopting a dog or getting a dog, please do it. Adopt if you can, don't shop. But fucking hell, it is not easy. He is torture. He's oh my God, he's looking at me with eyes like he knows what I'm saying, and I feel so guilty. But he's a full-time job, Mo. So he has me up at like 5 a.m. every morning because he wants to go to the toilet. And if I don't let him out, we know we'll have an accident because he's just a baby. And he wants to chew everything. His favorites include my expensive shoes, toilet roll when I'm trying to have a wee, and any box. So you just can't take your eyes off him. So at the moment, I'm thinking the hardest thing I'm dealing with right now is trying to train my little puppy to be a very good boy. But I'm sure people are going through an awful lot worse.
How'd you plan on teaching him to stop doing all these things he's doing? Because it's a dog, right? You can't speak to a dog. Because the dogs are really clever, but how do you tell a dog, stop chewing and stop doing this and stop doing that?
No, so come here, baby. I'm gonna give him one more. I'm gonna give him another treat because he's being quiet. He's being a very good boy. So there's so many ways you can train him, and like I said, I adopted my little boy from Dogs Trust, and they have a lovely, like, really great, like, aftercare program. So everyone's been on the phone, the vet's been on, making sure, like, they're just doing their due diligence, making sure he's okay and he's gone to a nice, happy home and stuff. But I've signed up for puppy classes. And I think within those classes, like, we learn certain things like recall, come back when he hears his name, like not jumping up on people and stuff. And I was joking with the woman and I said, like, I feel like I'm the one who needs the training. She went, honestly, it is half for the doggies and half for the humans, because, like, if you've never had a dog before, it's difficult to get your head around. So the earliest that could get us in, mate, right, was the end of July. So I'm like, what shit? So he's just going to go through all of my shoes. And I'm never going to have a wee on my own for like a month until like he gets his training. So I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed currently by the huge task at hand. And I'm sure, honestly, I'll talk to you in a couple of months and be like, oh, I love him so much, everything's fine. So fingers crossed, it's all going to resolve itself pretty soon.
Yeah, I mean, once you've started the puppy training and stuff, it'll become easier, I guess. And like you
Yeah, I
said,
think so.
he's only like a baby, so but yeah, so yeah, that's interesting to know because like I've seen on you, I knew you was gonna answer that actually. I knew you was gonna say about the puppy when I asked this question because I've seen on your Instagram recently, and I've saw your stories today as well, and the mess he's making and stuff. So yeah, I knew you were gonna say that. But let's take it back now to when you were a child growing up. Not many people know how was life for you, because I'm guessing it was just like any other life. And
Oh, yeah, honestly, hun, like I had such a lovely childhood, probably quite a charmed existence. Like I grew up in the northeast of England. My mum and dad were still together, and I will get absolutely slaughtered for just saying mum and dad then instead of saying mum and dad, which is what we say up north. God, I've been
yeah,
down here for too long. So I had a little sister called Laura, who's like to this day my best friend. She's absolutely class. You love her. She's got a great sense of humor.
yeah,
And I loved school, which is so weird, but I was a bit of like a swot, a bit of a teacher's pet until I discovered booze and boys when I was about 15, 16. Then I had a bit of a rebellious thing, which I like just so normal.
yeah,
But yeah, just such a normal childhood, no. And I kind of love that.
yeah. I mean, because you have a degree in drama, don't you? You went to university. So
Yeah, so I went, so after sixth form, I went to the same high school as my parents, by the way. Like that's how, like, you know a little bit about this, like where you're from, super similar, right? Like you and I just went to the same school my mom and dad went to, like same teachers were still there. Like it's such a
yeah,
northern vibe.
yeah,
So I did that. And then when I did quite well after sixth form, I chose to go to uni and I went to Liverpool John Moores. Obviously in Liverpool, I'd heard it was a cracking night out. I really wanted to kiss a Scouser. I went for all the important reasons, obviously.
yeah,
And I did drama, media, and cultural studies at uni. But the thing was, like, I didn't actually know what I wanted to be or do. And like when I was younger, I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this. Like I kind of flip-flopped all the time. Like one day I'd wake up and I'd be like, I want to be a TV presenter. And the next day I'd wake up and be like, oh no, I want to be a fashion designer. Then I wanted to be an astronaut, and then I wanted to be a princess. And there was this one year where all I did was ask for spectacles of Santa Claus. I just wanted to have glasses. That's all I wanted. So I jumped all over the place as I grew up. And I think when you haven't got it like proper pinned down, like you don't have it very clear in your mind, oh, I want to be a doctor, or I want to be a teacher or a solicitor, you have to pick something at uni that's quite vague, that almost prepares you for anything. So my course had elements of TV, it had elements of theatre, it had journalism, radio, loads of sort of stuff. And I knew I was kind of sort of angling that way when I was younger.
yeah. So yeah, it's quite. So you said you did media as well.
Yes, babe. So drama, media, and cultural studies.
So I mean, like when you said you didn't know what you wanted to do, I mean, you did end up having a degree in drama, so you must have put your head down to it and get on with it to get a degree, right?
Yeah, I mean, don't let anyone with a degree fool you.
Yeah,
It's not like when we're not down the mines, it's not super difficult. And they're pretty easy. Some courses are quite easy to pass, like as long as you turn up, apply yourself, and be diligent and stuff. And my course was one of those. Like it wasn't a cakewalk or anything, but I was passionate about it and found doing it easy enough because I loved it. So yeah, I got a 2-1 degree, which is like the one down from a first. I think had I not enjoyed Liverpool's nightlife so much, it could have been a first. But
yeah,
what's life without a little bit of fun? So loved it, mate. Got a great degree, met some great people. Like met my best friend, like my best mate. She's just about to have a baby. She's from Bolton, actually. She's my flatmate at uni. So it's lovely how it worked out. Like I didn't necessarily use my degree directly, but I definitely had a great experience.
Yeah, so like after that, you know, when because you hit fame at quite a young age. So I mean, how is life when you're living that normal nightlife and just being like any other person, and then all of a sudden you've got fame and you've got fans and you're going out and the press are on to you, and how does all that feel? Did it feel good or did you not like the pressure?
So I think what's like it's super subjective. Like, let me just say, like, everybody's journeys are different, and in particular, even in the public eye. So you can ask like another member of Geordie Shore or another member of Towie or another member of like Made in Chelsea, and they say like, oh my god, it was the best thing ever, I loved everything about it, I'm so blessed, and that's their narrative, so that's absolutely fine. I never really wanted to be famous, and like I just want to be rich. Like, I still maintain that, like, if I could do something that had got me within 10 years to where I am now in terms of like what I've got, I wouldn't have chose fame as the vehicle. I'm not a very good famous person. Like, I'm very sensitive. Everything everyone says that's negative hurts my feelings, and that's something I really should grow out of. I'm quite nervous. I have a bit of social anxiety. Like, all these things, like, they don't tend to make you a very good person in the public eye. So could I have just been like invented something, or I don't know, being like the fella who came up with Facebook? Like, I would have much rather been that guy, but unfortunately my little brain could not have comprehended coming up with a massive social media platform. So I struggled when I first got into this industry, because I'm used to like living my life, doing what I want, and being like a person, like being the person I want to be. Do you know what I mean? And not having to really answer to anybody. But when you're in the public eye, the way you behave is public property. And especially when you're on a reality TV show, like, I kind of feel like if you're a football player, don't get me wrong, so many people have an opinion on them and it must be terrible, but they can go and play football and then just go home to their wives. Like, that's it. Like, it's so chill. But in its very nature, its very essence, Geordie Shore, Towie, Made in Chelsea, whatever reality TV show you're on, they're interested in your whole life. So I found that really difficult, like everyone having an opinion on me and who I went out with and what I wore and what weight I was, and oh god, my haircut. And it's quite draining, especially for a young girl. And it's also quite difficult for you just to get your head around. Like, when you're working out who you are when you're in your early 20s, like, trust me, it's fucking so hard. Like, you just want to be really skinny like everyone else, or you just want like you just want to be like everybody else. Like, it's you're full of insecurities, you know. And having all those thoughts in your own head, like, oh god, am I thin enough, am I pretty enough, like, am I funny enough, all those things is one thing. But then having everyone else ask those questions as well, like, god, is she good looking enough for TV, or like, what, like, who is she? Like, it was really a lot for me to cope with, especially for like in terms of confidence and self-esteem. And I suppose it kind of eroded a lot of mine. And I really, really struggled being in the public eye as a young person. And I dealt with it terribly. I acted out. I became angry, defensive, aggressive. I drank too much. I did all the things you shouldn't do more.
I mean, but like, how about your family when you did become famous and stuff? How were they about everything, and were they okay with it, or did they not like the fact? Because I mean, it must hurt a parent when someone's writing or saying negative things about their child.
Yeah. You know what? That's such a good question. Like, you are so great at this, by the way. I hope you know. So when I first got on TV, it was difficult because my family are all obviously based in Newcastle, in Northeast, and the Newcastle region had a huge problem with the show I was on. They seen us as like bit of a giving Newcastle a bad name and a bad reputation. They saw us as glamorizing binge drinking. They saw us as like highlighting the things of the city that they weren't necessarily proud of. And of course, we weren't ever endeavoring to represent an entire region. We were just saying, God, this is us. This is how we go out and enjoy ourselves. But people were really opposed to us, the way we behaved on the show in general. And I think that was really hard for my family. Especially my mum at the time worked at like a local paper. And once people got on the fact that she was my mum, like it was just so awful. And she was constantly bombarded with like really unfair questions and stuff. So mate, I think it's best to say when it first happened, it really wasn't ideal. But then I think given the really controversial show I was on, our quite divisive behavior, it was always going to be a difficult transition. And things have got a lot easier. I think like post Jungle, MasterChef, like my own TV shows, and the way I've chosen to grow up and carry myself now, the person I've evolved into being essentially, that's made it a lot easier. Like people like me a lot more now. So my mum gets like people come up and be like, I fucking love your daughter. Like tell her she's really real on Instagram. Tell her I keep doing her.
I mean that's it. That's like what everyone loves about you. I mean, I don't understand how people can't like you because of how you are on social media, on Instagram, how you carry yourself, and yes, you are a TV star and you have 3 million plus followers or whatever on Instagram, but the way you are towards, the way you carry yourself, like I said before, it's just amazing. I respect it. I respect how you're so down to earth, and I mean, nearly every celebrity I've spoken to, I think that they have their certain ways of speaking, and you can kind of tell they're celebrities and you can tell they're famous, but with you it's more like I'm speaking to a friend instead of speaking to a celebrity. So yeah, I mean it's interesting what you said before about any negative comment hurts your feelings and you can get emotional and stuff, but the way you carry yourself on Instagram and social media, it doesn't show that. I mean, how do you put on a brave face? Because I want to know. Because I have the same problem. I get negative comments a lot, and I don't know how to put on a brave face. So, I mean, how do you do it?
Like, let me just tell you, it never gets easier, right? So whether you've been like, and honestly, I've been in the industry, 10 years? And there are still some comments that will completely floor me more. And I just think, God, like what happened to you to make you talk to people this way on the internet? Like that's how you have to think. Like you can't for one single second take it personally. Like it's like yourself, like you'd never sit there and write nasty things online. Like I would never sit there and attack someone, a virtual stranger online. Like none of my mates would ever do it. Like my family wouldn't do it. Like normal, well-adjusted, kind people do not say shit about strangers online. Exactly. They just don't. We've got better things to do. We've got family meals to go to. We've got friends to see. We've got podcasts to do. We are nice people. So I think that's the first thing I always try and tell myself when I read something like a troll has wrote. I just say, this person wasn't hugged enough as a child, or this person has had a shit day, or like this person's girlfriend's just finished them. Like you have to try and entertain the idea that it's just not about you at all. It says nothing about you. It says so much more about them. But it's so easy for me to sit here and say this now, but it's different when you are sitting there and just sitting on the sofa with your family or lying with your partner or whatever, and somebody writes something about you, and it's so personal more because you're in your private space, aren't you, babe? Like you're in your kitchen with your mum, or you're fucking on the sofa with your dad. Like you're so chilled, and these comments come at you like bullets, and it feels like such an invasion of privacy. They get in your head, they get in your space, they're in your home, and you think, oh, like how dare you have this like control over me? So sometimes, babe, I cry. Honestly, hand on my heart, like I'm not too proud to admit it. Sometimes I cry. Sometimes I ring my sister and have a good whinge and slag them off and go, probably living in his mum's box room, wanking into a sock. What does he know? And I have a good rant. And other times, like I put them on blast. Like I know it's not the most mature thing in the world. Sometimes I think, listen, Dave from Coventry or wherever you're from, if you think you can ruin my day and attack me, like absolutely not. Just because, and you know what, it's always someone and they'll go, I'm sorry, I'm so on a tangent now, but like, I'll put up a nice post about how women should empower one another and it doesn't matter what size you are and we're all beautiful, cellulite, dimples, whatever you've got, you are a beautiful person. It's what inside that counts. And some fella, let's call him Dave from Coventry, will go, you got shagged on the telly. And all I can think, yeah, do you know that? And you just think
it has nothing to do with the post, and I think they're just targeting. They just want to hurt your feelings, don't they? It's that's how it. And they'll use anything. They'll use anything to hurt your feelings, and I think they kind of know as well, like what
will hurt the most.
Yeah, what will hurt the most, and that's exactly what they're doing. But yeah, I mean, like, I've only got what 20,000 or whatever followers, and I can't imagine having 1 million or 2 million or 3 million or whatever. Like, it must be tough, but yeah, the way you carry yourself and you kind of just keep strong and just show like you don't give a shit, and that's what's amazing. That's the best thing. Like, I could learn a lot from you and like how strong you are and stuff. Like, everyone says I'm a strong person, which I am, as in fighting diseases and fighting my condition and stuff. But if someone writes a negative comment, I'm like the weakest person out there, and it's crazy.
But like you are strong, like never, like you are so strong and so inspirational. And part of the reason why I agreed to do this podcast is because of how much time I've got for you. Like, as a person, I'm completely in awe of you. But like, just nobody wants to read nasty things about themselves. Nobody likes to hear things like that. Like, it doesn't make you not strong, it makes you fucking human. And like, never forget that. Like, I'm yet to meet someone in any walk of life who's like, oh my god, that person just attacked my character, that's fine. Like, we are human. It's in what to be like. So you know what, I could live to be 101 more and still not get the hang of this trolling thing, because it's not natural, it's not normal. This computer screen has made people feel really comfortable saying things to people that they should get punched in the face for, and it's hard to get your head around. So no, I've honestly got no real advice for you. All I will say though, babe, is it's not about you. Your class, keep doing what you're doing, keep being the best version of you. These people are just irritated by their own lack of life. Okay, that's all I'll say.
Amazing. Thanks so much for the advice. Yeah, but okay, yeah, we're gonna go to like Cena. Like I mentioned before, one of the first times I saw you was on I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, and I've got to mention, because I've been watching that show since I was a child, and I mean, seeing you on there, and I think it was like from the first time I saw you on there, I was like, I want her to win. I remember going onto the app and voting and everything. Because I would honestly say I didn't really know who you were, but then just by your personality and stuff, I was like, wow, like, she's wicked, like, she's got to win this. But yeah, you've got to tell us about the experience. How did that come around?
So good, Mo. Like, honestly, I'm like you. It's been one of my favorite shows for like my whole life, and it's one of them that all the family sits down and watches, isn't it?
Yeah,
like, just got such feel good family vibes. So I always wanted to do it, and I always used to say it to my agents, like, this is the show I want, and and I had a lot of nasty agents when I was younger who didn't necessarily believe that I had the potential that I thought I had. And the best thing I ever did was leave those and find the lovely agents that I'm with now. It was an agency called Mockingbird I'm with, and they're just two women, started up on their own, but they are like proper powerhouses, like proper badass boss bitches, and they believed in me as much as I believed in myself. And I remember, like, everyone was like, there's no way they'll put someone from Geordie Shore in the jungle, and I kind of heard it so much I almost believed it. But they got me a meeting, right, with the guys at ITV, and I went. And I remember sitting in this meeting, and they were telling me, like, they were asking me, like, would you be open to falling in love in the jungle? And what are you scared of? And I was like, no way, I'm fucking telling you that. Like, I'm not telling you what I'm scared. I'm scared of gin and puppies. That's what I'm scared of. Throw them at me. We had such a great meeting. And I remember at the end of it, they were like, is there anything you want to add to this? And I just looked at them and I said, I'd be good at this. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what? No, I said, honestly, I went, like, you don't have to put me in. I went, but I'm telling you from the bottom of my heart, like, I'd be good at this. And they
Yeah.
laughed and we laughed and I kind of left. And I remember having this feeling like, you know, when you've just smashed something, like whether you've done a great, you know, whether you've done a great podcast or even if you've had like a good first date, like whatever it is, you've just done something really well. And you walk away from it and you go, like I did well there. Like that's how I felt. I had that whole feeling inside me. Like if they don't want me after that meeting, then they don't want Vicky Pattison, and that's fine. Like I can't do any more of it. I can't do any more. So yeah, so they ran. I remember my agent telling us they wanted me in, and I was over the moon because I knew this was like my opportunity for everyone to see us as like something different than that like hard partying, quite loudmouth girl. Like I thought people get to see the real me here, and I'm just, well, honestly, buzzing like an old fridge for everyone to see what I really am. So it was made so class, like to this day, best thing ever.
Yeah, I remember you saying when you won it, it was the best thing you've ever done and the best experience you had. And I mean, like, I've realised with the show as well, the celebrities, they don't know each other, but when it's finished, they're like a family. In like every series. It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, you try, if you try going through the things that you go through in there, like, you know, like the creepy crawlies, the bugs, the sleep deprivation, the heat, like it was 50 degrees one day more. And I'm like just a little Geordie, like it's freezing up there.
Yeah,
So I was sweating my tits off. Like you go through a lot and it bonds you. Like any sort of difficult situation does, like whoever you go through it with, you bonded. And even like people from different years, like I was speaking to Giovanna Fletcher the other day. And like I just feel bonded with her because I know she's gone through it too. So yeah, you do find it's one of those shows where you really walk away from it and feel super bonded and really like you've made friends for life, like Fern, Georgie Porter, George Shelley, like everyone from my year was just absolute aces.
yeah.
And I was so lucky.
I remember the connection with Fern you had. Like that was like the biggest connection I think I've seen when I'm a Celebrity. You guys were like sisters, weren't you?
Oh, still, do you know what? Still absolutely love her. She's just invited us to her 30th. And I was like, oh my God, I'll be there with bells on.
Yeah.
Like, I love her.
Yeah, that's, you see, like, it's amazing because you've kind of kept in contact. And I mean, a lot of the celebrities that do go into the jungle, they do keep in contact for the rest of their lives. And I mean, what would you say the hardest part being in the jungle was? Like, didn't the spiders or creepy crawlies, the rats, anything like that, didn't none of that affect you?
So I would have thought I was going to be like squeamish about snakes and rats and spiders and cockroaches. Like I don't like cockroaches. Like nobody loves cockroaches. But actually, like it's such a baptism of fire. Like my first trial, you've got like your head. I don't know if you remember, but I had my head in like the glass sort of like helmet and my arms in glass boxes and my feet in glass. And I had like crickets crawling down my top and they were trying to like burrow through my skin. Oh no. So it's such a baptism of fire. Like even if you are bothered initially, like the type of person I am, it's just like, well, what's your alternative? You do this, you smash it. People think you're brave. People think you're strong. Like you get people's respect, or you scream, you cry, like, and you still, you know, you're probably going to get more trials that way. So I just got on with the trials and kind of by the end was like, you know what, the more I'm doing these trials, the more you're seeing me on TV, the more people can fall in love with us. That's the way my head's at.
And I mean, look at that, you won the show, so everyone did fall in love.
Oh, thank you, babe. But the only thing I think I struggled, I get so two things. I get bitten a lot. I don't know how you react to like mosquito bites, but I'm like borderline allergic, so mine like swell up really bad, and like you're in a jungle, mate. So I got eaten alive, which wasn't nice, like kind of a bit frustrating. And the second thing, it's really nerve-wracking. More like to go from sort of my TV show, which I'd been on like a year previously, which I knew sort of like about 1 million people a week were watching potentially. And only if you are between the ages of about 16 and 24, like most people didn't know who I was. And then you go to I'm a Celebrity, man. And there's fucking 14 million people watching you. And you know as well, I'm like, and you don't know how you're coming across. Like, are people liking me? Like, especially before the eviction start, because you just got no gauge at all. So I'm like, coming across like a knobhead? Do people want to keep me in? Like, do they like what they're seeing? Like, that's the hardest thing, is knowing you are out of control with how you're coming across. Like, I knew I was being like just myself, but you never know with editing. It's always quite nerve-wracking. So I'd say that was probably the most difficult thing, not the spiders or the cockroaches.
Did you expect to win it, or like when you went in there, did you tell yourself you were going to win the show?
I think you have to go in, don't you, babe, with like this really positive mentality. Like, you know yourself, like you have to tell yourself like it's going to be a good day and this is going to be a good record, or like you have to, whatever helps to get you through. Like, I forget, like you have to tell yourself your football team's going to win. Like, you have to be positive and hopeful. So yeah, I went in hoping for the absolute best, babe. Like, God, you could win this. People could fall in love with you. They could see the real you and blah, blah, blah. But honestly, I was just like, please just don't get voted off first. Like, I was so nervous. I just thought and you know, like I found out when I came out that Twitter, when I first went in, they first found out I was going out, because Instagram was just sort of starting out, but Twitter was the big one at the time.
Yeah.
Twitter just kicked off. Everyone going, get her out of there. We don't want to ring. She's going to ruin it. Geordie Shore scum. And oh, my dog ears climbed all the way up. I'm so sorry. Bear with me. So yeah, I just didn't want to get voted out first more. And I thought, God, everyone's going to hate me. And Twitter exploded, get her out and all the rest of it. And within 24 hours, like I changed their minds. I was a favourite to win. You know what I mean? But what if I hadn't? What if it had gone the other way and I'd been the first person out? So it could have easily happened, hun. So I hoped for the best, but expected the worst, which I think is kind of a nice way to live, right?
Yeah, of course. So like even coming out, like you said, 14 million people watched you, and obviously most of them 14 million people fell in love with you and voted for you to win the show. So I mean, coming out of that, did you find, because you don't use social media for a few weeks, you don't do the things you do in real life in the jungle. So I mean, when you come out and you check social media and you saw all the positive stuff and all the positive comments, and that must have been amazing, right? Because you must have checked your phone or checked your social media accounts or whatever, and the amount of followers you must have had and the amount of messages, and it must have been crazy, right?
It was amazing, like, and it was like so many messages of people saying well done and stuff. And I remember getting loads of messages from me pals and videos from me mates at home who've always had my back, and as well finding out like amazing celebrities had been backing us as well. People like Amanda Holden, Cheryl Cole, like just hearing that those people knew who I was like mind blowing. So when I finally came back to reality, like it wasn't like reality. Well, it was mad. Like I had people. It was surreal is the only way I can describe it. And like I still feel like the world I'm in is pretty surreal. Like I'm just a little girl from Newcastle, aren't I? And I often find myself overwhelmed in the world I'm in. Oh, bear with me, Mo. I'm so sorry.
No, that's fine.
Erkan's just calling. He doesn't realize we're on a podcast. I'll cancel his call.
Oh no, you sure? Is that okay? Yeah, you don't need to.
Absolutely, I'm with the other man in my life. You'll just have to understand.
Thanks so much. So yeah, I mean that's really interesting to know about. You said about going into I'm a Celebrity and coming out and having all the attention and stuff, and you still said you still think you didn't get big headed, basically. You didn't let the fame get to you, and I mean, till this day now, like how many more followers did you? Was it a massive rise in like attention and followers to what you had before going into the jungle, or was it the same?
Attention, yes. So
yeah.
Attention, huge. Like it was madness. Like you've got to think as well. When I was on Geordie Shore again, I was quite a divisive character. I'm not going to say the way I was edited, because that's really unfair. Like you can't, like I said a lot of things I shouldn't have said. And as I was growing up and in a world I didn't quite understand, I didn't behave the best all the time. So I think I was divisive as a person. So even though maybe the show, Geordie Shore, went out to like millions of people all over the country, all over the world, 63 different countries, a lot of those people didn't like us. Or, weren't, she's all right, she's part of the cast, but I wasn't like their favourite. But then when I left I'm a Celeb, obviously people were really nice, and it was lovely families, and people come to, like, young lasses come to see us on book signings with their mums, and it was just this whole different world for me. More like, it was so lovely. It was my first experience with actually being loved or liked for who I was, and
Yeah.
that's all anybody really wants deep down, isn't it? We just want to be loved and liked for who we are. So that was amazing. And I've definitely talked to you before about how, like, that feeling is like was the best ever. But in terms of followers, babe, so think of the people who watch I'm a Celeb. Like, unless it's like you or me, it's predominantly mums and dads, isn't it, as well? Like, they don't really have Instagram and stuff. So I think I might have jumped up about 100, 200,000 followers. But ultimately, I had like 2 million, 2.5 million on my own, because everybody who watched Geordie Shore is 16 to 24. They're Instagram age, aren't they? I mean, half of them don't comment or like my shit anymore, because unless I'm necking on with someone or drinking a Jaeger bomb or falling out of a bar, they're not interested. I'm a different person now. So it's weird to see that I've grown, but they sort of haven't. But yeah, I mean, the following, not so much, but the attention, lovely change.
Yeah, so like coming out of I'm a Celebrity and having the change and stuff. And I'd like to mention as well, just to remind everyone, this podcast is about inspiring, and it's about overcoming difficult situations in life, and that is the aim of this podcast, to help people overcome any challenges. And yes, you show yourself on social media as the happiest person, and so does everyone else. Even I do. I'll go on social media and I'll put a smile on my face, even when I'm having a bad day. I'll do that. And what people need to understand is that's not exactly how life always is, and we all experience heartbreak or experience something bad in life, and obviously, as we know, you've experienced heartbreak yourself, and it's like when you experience heartbreak, and when you're in the public eye, and when you've got so much people seeing what you're going through and what's happened, I mean, that must be really tough, right? Because you're not suffering alone, because you've got people judging you then, haven't you? You've got people messaging you, and then, because I mean, if you experience something bad in life, then you open social media and you've got people messaging you emotional messages, you must start crying, or get more upset about it, right? Is that how is it?
Oh God, honestly. So I think heartbreak is heartbreak. No, let's just have it right. And loss is loss, and grief is grief. It doesn't matter whether you like collect bins or you host this morning. Like, heartbreak doesn't discriminate. It's a leveler. You can be hurt, you can lose someone, you can feel humiliated, no matter who you are. And like, I experienced that obviously firsthand a couple of years ago, after like a tempestuous 10 years in terms of my love life. Like, I fall for the worst type of boys. I am terrible taste in men, always have had. I really thought I'd grown up and found someone different. And like, this isn't the type of podcast where you slag anyone off, and I'm not the type of person who does that. But like, in retrospect, I definitely hadn't found the man of my dreams. We weren't right for each other. The relationship was incredibly toxic, and it ended really badly. And I felt really humiliated. Just like, I always kind of, like, you can fall out of love with someone, like that happens. Like, it's got to be a difficult pill to swallow, but people change, people grow, your feelings don't always stay the same. And I think I can handle that conversation. Like, what I can't handle is cheating. Like, there's just in no world is that okay. Like, if you love someone and respect them, you just don't do that. So especially when the world was watching, as I found, like, in my case.
I'm trying to say, like, the way you found out about it as well, like, I can't imagine how tough that must have been, just finding out the way you did find out, and then all of a sudden the next day being on TV and being on everywhere, all over Twitter, all over social media, and then I mean the way you like, what did you do to keep strong? Like, how did you keep strong in that?
Oh, so I shed like my fair share of tears and did like my fair share of shouting. Don't get us wrong. Like I called him every name under the sun, threatened to burn all his stuff. Like they get out of my house like the usual. Like I
Yeah.
behaved typically like Vicky from Geordie Shore. But I think when it all settled down, I realized, and it took us a long time to realize it, like that, but like he'd done us a favor. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't something that came to me overnight. Like how I dealt with it in the heat of the moment was by just continually putting one foot in front of the other. That sounds so basic, but like there's nothing else you can do. Like feel your feels. Like if you want to cry, cry. Like I did my fair share of crying. If you want to shout, shout. I did my fair share of shouting. If you want to eat like a full grab bag of Maltesers, like absolutely, you have my full support there. Just do whatever feels right. That's what I did. But what kept me going and stopped me from completely crumbling or God, even worse, going back to him. Do you know what I mean? Can you imagine? Like, what kept me from doing all that was actually knowing that there was people watching more. Like, do you know?
Yeah.
Like, everyone says, "God, how did you cope when there were so many people watching?" Like, it's fucking what got me through. If anything, like
Yeah.
knowing that if I had gone back to that man, I was not just saying, "Oh yeah, like we're going to give it a go. We've decided we can work through it." I was saying to every young girl, like, it's okay to get cheated on. Like Vicky Pattison says, like, it's okay to have a man disrespect you, to show you he doesn't love you, and then stay with him. Like, I couldn't be that girl. I'm not saying like you can't make things work after someone's been unfaithful. Everybody's different. But for me, once you've shown me that you don't respect me and you don't respect our relationship, then I am like, I have to be done. And I couldn't condone that to every young lass watching. Like I couldn't say it to them that. So
Yeah.
since knowing that there was loads of young women being like, "Gosh, you're going to stay with him or you're going to go," I had to go. I had to go. It kept my resolve stiffened, so to speak. So yeah, like and like the amount of women I had message me after, like some in the public eye, some not, some me mates from home, some women who were struggling with like really unfaithful fellas and had been for years, who told me like, "You gave me the confidence to go. Like you showed me that there was life for me outside of this relationship and this man who wasn't treating me right." And I thought, fucking hell, like I didn't set out to do that at all. Like all I wanted to do was stop crying every day more. All I wanted to do was not be seen as a victim. I wanted to be seen as this strong, bad bitch. But knowing that I did that made, and I'm not going to say all the heartache worthwhile, because God, I cried a lot and it really did hurt. But
And you have a right to, of course, you have a
it,
right to.
it definitely made it easier to bear, knowing that the course of action I took helped other women realize their worth as well, because
Yeah.
nobody deserves to feel that way. Nobody, man or woman. I often make men out to sound like the bad guy. Like, years on, it was just one bad bastard. That's all.
Yeah, yeah, because I mean, like, I remember reading, you know, at times when it kind of happened, I read somewhere that you kind of blamed yourself a little about it all, and I mean, I think this is a message to a lot of people out there that are going through anything like this, and it's important that people don't blame themselves and they're kind of fighting, because look at you now, you've got one of the most amazing men, of because the way he treats you is the way you deserve to be treated.
Thank you,
Um,
babe.
and I like, yeah, so you've overcome that challenge and now you're happy and now you're with Erkan and things are going great. So that's a message to anyone out there that
Yeah,
happiness will come. It
yeah.
will come eventually. You've just got to overcome your difficulties and what you're going through, and happiness, it will come. Now you've got a puppy and you're happy, you've got a podcast, you're on this morning nearly a few times a week, or whenever I sometimes I see you on this morning, and you're doing things and you've got a big smile on your face, and that's because you were so strong about everything. And I think that's perfect for this podcast, because that's the message I want to put out there, is just keep fighting, and eventually happiness will come your way, like the way it has for you now. Am I right?
So lovely. Like, you're so eloquent. Like, I know I always end up doing this with you, but you you're such an amazing talent. Like, you're such an eloquent and articulate lad. Like, you are in the right job. Like, stick with this. It's amazing. Yeah. So to anyone struggling, like anyone feeling like, God, am I ever going to feel happy? And am I ever going to be loved? And am I ever going to find the woman of my dreams, or whatever it is? Like, am I ever going to get the right job? Like, there's that saying, isn't there? Like, everything will be all right in the end. And if it's not all right, it's not the end.
Yeah.
And it's such a cliche, but it's so true. Like, you have to believe that good things are coming to you if you're a good person. Like, they just are. Live your life honestly, live it authentically, be kind to others, treat people with respect. Like, remember where you came from, and good things will happen. Like, don't get me wrong, you'll have down days, we'll have scraped knees, there will be chapters of your book you don't want to read out loud. That's life. But I will say one thing I've learned, and that is, when my chips were down, when I felt low, when I'd made a mistake, when things looked really dark, that's when I've realized who I really fucking am. And that's when you've realized what you're really made of. You can't have light without shade in life. And the valleys will teach you things that the mountaintops never will. If everything's great all the time, you become a real arsehole. Like, if you never know struggle, like, you're not interesting, you're not fun, you're not dynamic, you're not brave. Like, so the hard times are hard. That's why they fucking call them that. But they make you strong, they make you tough, they make you brave, they make you determined, they make you who you are. So please keep going through the hard times, because that light is coming. Shade won't last forever. And when that sun finally shines on your skin, it will be so much more worthwhile.
Of course, yeah. Like, there you have it, guys. The message of inspiration is right there, and that's the perfect message to put out there for everyone that is going through a difficult time. But where do you see it? What do you see? What are you doing in the next 6 to 12 months or 2 years? Or have you got any plans? What are you doing in the next? What are your plans?
So I really hope this dog will be trained by then. That's the first thing. More. Secondly, I am going to be making more of the podcast, of course. That's doing really well. And based on the back of the success of Vicky Pattison's Secret 2, I'm bringing out a book called Vicky Pattison, The Secret to Happy, how to banish self-doubt, build resilience, and live the life you deserve. And it's all about the things we've talked about today, like getting through hardships and not judging yourself on someone else's timeline, and being strong and being capable and getting what you want out of life and not doubting yourself. So that comes out in January, which sounds ages away, but the rate is these months are whizzing by. I'm sure will come around very fast. So I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, I can't wait to like, the podcast is amazing, by the way. I've listened to it, and you're just like me. You're kind of like, you don't feel nervous, but I can tell by the way you're talking and stuff, you don't feel nervous, and you just. But I'll be really, really honest. Actually, before we started today's episode, I told the producer that I was actually the most nervous I'd ever been. Like, with I'm not sure because I mean, like, I think it's probably because of, like I said before, you're a celebrity, but it's like I'm speaking to a friend. But at the end of the day, you are one of the biggest celebrities in the UK, and I'm gonna have someone like you on my podcast, and it's like I can't quite believe it actually, that like I've come to this stage where I can speak to someone as big as you. Like, it's amazing. It's like, thanks so much for coming on, by the way. It's like, I can't thank you enough for taking your time out and coming on.
Don't be so daft. Like, I am small potatoes compared to the people you're going to end up getting on here, pal.
Yeah,
and eventually, I will absolutely love to be able to say, I did his podcast as well once. So please keep reaching for the stars, you absolute babe.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'll keep going, and hopefully the podcast becomes big, and it becomes successful, and I can carry it on in the future. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on the show today. Before we do leave, where can people read your book and listen to your podcast and stuff like that?
So the book is available to pre-order, not out till January, unfortunately, guys, but the link is Sorry, darling. Milo's being very noisy, but I think he wants his walk. So yeah, so it's available to pre-order. Get it wherever you get your books from, like Amazon, places like that. And the podcast, available wherever you get your podcasts, Acast to Spotify, all things like that. So I couldn't make it any easier for everybody. And thank you so much for having me, Mo. Absolute pleasure as always. Keep doing what you're doing, babe.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much for coming on. Take care. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Goodbye. Yeah. Thanks for joining us on the Live to Inspire podcast with me, your host, Mo Eunice. Please comment, like and share to help build our global community.